What up, guys? Drive Through Joe here with Icy, and we have a very special interview here for you guys today. We have Chris Hendricks, but you guys probably all know him as Screenhog, uh, Club Penguin's first artist, animator, and also composed the music. If people don't know, well, first of all, thank you for doing this. This is
Absolutely, I
cool.
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. Yeah, this
Yeah,
should be fun.
yeah, we appreciate that. So if people don't know, a little background, when did you start make, uh, let's see. How did you when did you realize that you had a knack for making music or drawing and you wanted to make a career out of it?
The music stuff started very, very early. I started in piano lessons when I was 5, and I kind of just flew through the books, the music teaching books. And what helped a lot is that I have something called absolute pitch, also known as perfect pitch. So I hear a note and I know what it is immediately.
Wow.
Hmm.
And so that just meant that if all of the songs that I was learning were on tape, I just hear them and I know them very, very quickly. So I loved playing music, but I tended to enjoy making my own music more than playing other people's music. There was still a lot of good stuff to learn from other people's music, but the chances that I got to just get on a piano and noodle around for 2 hours playing whatever, that was where I had the most fun. So that was a hobbyist kind of thing throughout high school. I got a paper route so that I would earn enough money to get a synthesizer of my own that would be able to record 8 tracks of audio on it. And so I would compose stuff on there, and that was great. But it was
Wow.
all hobby kinds of stuff. And it wasn't until really Club Penguin hit.
Hmm.
And we'd started with the game. I'd been working on it. This was end of 2006, and the game Thin Ice was coming out. And up until then, we were using almost entirely royalty free music, which is music that other people have composed that is not exclusive to you, but you can have the rights to use. You can purchase the rights to use that. And we just couldn't find anything that sounded 8-bit arcades Nintendo kind of sounding stuff. And like, you know what? I have a keyboard at home. I could just do this. And so I did. And I really, really enjoyed it. And Pizzatron came up a couple of months later and was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a better keyboard because by that time the keyboard I had from Paper Route Money was kind of busting. And while I was composing that Thin Ice song, one of the buttons actually fell through into the keyboard, so there was a big hole where that button was supposed to be. So it was time to get something better. So I picked up a different keyboard and made the Pizzatron music, which led to music for there was stage play music. There was all these songs that came up in 2007 that I was starting to get into and composing, and I just found that hey, I think I could do this and learn to do this professionally. So Club Penguin became my somewhat stressful because millions of people were listening to it, but it was my training ground for becoming a professional musician.
Right.
Oh,
Joe, let me steal one question from
go
you.
ahead.
Chris, let's go back to 1999.
Okay.
Um, Seeing one of your videos, you're talking about Aqua Grabber.
Yes, yes.
Where did that song come from originally? Like, what made you, and what made you go back and realize that you had that song for that?
Well, when I had originally made that song, and that wasn't even at home, that was at a friend's house that also happened to have recording equipment, so they sent me the digital file, and I liked it enough that I stuck it on my very first web page online in 1999, which was I
Wow.
don't know if you remember like the GeoCities and Angel Fire and those free web
Yeah, yeah,
hosters that would
yes.
give you like a whopping 2 megs of web space or something. Yeah, so I stuck it on there and took up about 20% of my web space because MP3, I didn't know how to convert it into MP3, so it was just an uncompressed wave. But yeah, I stuck the song on there and it stuck in my memory of, hey, that was kind of cool. Don't know what I'll use it for later, maybe nothing. But then when Aqua Grabber came up, for whatever reason, just I was because if even when I compose songs, I'll kind of go back afterwards and play it sometimes,
Right.
remix it in different ways. I tried playing it slower, and I realized, you know what, this actually could be kind of relaxing with the right instruments. So, uh, just sort of put two and two together, and it became the Aqua Grabber theme.
Yeah, that kind of raises a question. So, were there any other songs that made it to Club Penguin that you made a long time ago, like Aqua Grabber?
Uh, Not as long before as Aqua Grabber, no. There were other songs I had made, but I don't think there's any others that I actually moved onto Club Penguin in that way.
Okay.
So, no.
Yeah, because I just thought
No.
that was awesome. I mean, and
Yeah,
Aqua
yeah.
Grabber came out like 2008, and that song's been around for almost over 10 years.
Uh-huh,
That's
uh-huh. And
that was awesome when I heard that
ironically,
video.
yeah, and it was recorded on October 24th, 1999, which is just this freaky coincidence.
Wow.
Man, that
Yeah.
is so
So,
weird.
Club Penguin's negative sixth anniversary. So,
That's
yeah,
funny.
That's
Wow,
yeah.
what a coincidence.
Yeah, no kidding.
Go ahead, Joe.
So over at Club Penguin, what did you enjoy more? Did you enjoy doing the music more? Did you enjoy doing the drawing more? Um,
I enjoyed working with people there
okay.
because it was such a great group of people to work with. And I also loved the variety more. Early Club Penguin, I was able to not necessarily just pigeonhole myself into a single task. So sometimes I was making clothing items, sometimes I was on the newspaper, sometimes I was making furniture, right? I was kind of sometimes it was okay, we need another mini game, so I'm gonna come up with some ideas for that. I've always liked the ability to work on a bunch of different things rather than okay, now you're going to be an animator for 10 years.
Hmm.
That kind of thing has never really worked well for me. um, which also made it tough as Disney online studios got bigger and they definitely started hiring people that were very focused on one thing. And here's Screenhog back from 2005 era is like, where do we fit you on the Club Penguin team? And I don't know. And they said, I don't know. Right. So that
Right.
became a challenge towards the end.
Mm.
But
Interesting.
Yeah, so on your website you have, when you said the samples of some music you made, one thing I was curious
Mhm.
about was the Club Penguin Island theme.
Yes.
Was that like an unused track from years ago and Disney had the rights to and only used it for Club Penguin Island a couple years ago, or did you like come back and do that song for them? What's going on there?
Yeah, I'm gonna end up making a video about the stuff I made for Club Penguin Island, but
Hmm.
that song was made specifically for Club Penguin Island.
Okay.
Wow.
I made a total of 8 songs for Club Penguin Island. 7 of them were Rockhopper pirate related,
Yeah.
but one of them was, and it was, I think, the first song that I made for, I'd have to check back on that, check the dates of the files, but they said we need a loading screen song, the kind of put people in the default emotional mental state that they need to be in before entering the island. We want something that's kind of relaxing and that kind of thing. So it's like, okay, make the iconic loading song for a new game, no pressure. um so yeah, that was created specifically for CPI.
Interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Never knew that.
So, what was the last, before you left, what was the last mini game you had created? Or if there was any
Oh.
mini game that never really made it into production?
Okay. So I'll give two answers then,
Okay.
because the last one that I created that actually made it into the game, if you don't count the dot to dot puzzle that appeared occasionally in the newspaper, because I did make that in like some free time I had.
That was fun.
I
But
remember that.
the last one that I prototyped for the world was the treasure hunt game in Rockhopper's
Wow.
headquarters. Um, yeah, because we were under a little bit of pressure there because we realized eventually we're going to have to unlock Rockhopper's headquarters, unlock his his room again,
Right.
but we didn't know what to put in there. And it's like, wouldn't it be great if we could put a multiplayer game in there? What would make sense? What about battleships? Battleships sounds like it would work great. And so we started thinking that one through, and very quickly we realized unless you're playing with somebody that's actually in the room with you, Battleships is a slow and horribly boring game because it's just you could be playing a random number generator and it wouldn't matter. So I was like, okay, what's a fast game that you could play in Rockhopper's quarters? Because when Rockhopper goes online as a mascot, people are going to ask to play his game too.
Right.
We need something that could be finished in like 15 moves or less. 2 player. What haven't we done yet? Well, we haven't done a co-op game. What would work well as a co-op game? Well, something that's like Battleship, but you kind of have to triangulate the position and get things. Okay, and so that's sort of where the treasure hunt idea came from. And then the person who actually coded the real version of Treasure Hunt that appears in the world, he made the code far more readable and clean, and also added in the green emeralds. That was never part of the original thing, but then he added it that occasionally those would show up. Oh, that's a good addition. So yeah, that was the last one I think I contributed. I also there was a site. It was sort of like a secret site of prototypes, which is where Pufflescape came from. It was originally Rollerscape, and it was on there. Um,
I remember
there
that
was
too.
there was a few of them on there. One of them was called Skyscraper, which was sort of like Tetris, but instead of building lines, you were building this impossibly high tower into the sky and getting points for however high you got, but you wanted to avoid the little bomb things. That one was mine, and that one
Oh,
never actually got brought over to the real game. So the only place that you ever would have played it would be on that beta site.
Okay.
okay.
Something I
Right.
always wondered about for a long time, artwork wise. This seemed like about from middle of '08. Well, after 2007, it seemed to be a huge art overhaul on the
Mm-hmm.
penguin designs.
Yep.
Um, was that all you, or was that like other people? Because I remember I hated like I hated it because I always loved the old poorly drawn penguins, and like when all that
Sure.
started changing, I was like, what's going on here? You know?
Yeah, yeah. Um, was that all me? On the contrary, that was very much not me.
Okay,
Um,
figured.
so for well, there was reasons for it. For a while, I was basically considered the art director on the game, but the problem was I did not do art direction very well. The
Mm,
model sheets that I created for the penguins had too much room for other artistic interpretation. And so that's fine at first, but when you're bought by Disney and Disney says, okay, give us your iconic penguins to put on the packaging,
mm,
and you realize you need at least some consistency there so that things actually, the penguins all look like each other when there's different poses and different things. And we realized that no two penguins, and literally like no two penguins that we thought were the quality that we needed, looked alike. um we realized somebody needs to come in here and change that. And so fortunately, one of the other artists that had been hired on had worked as an art director in a previous job, and so he took over the art direction role and kind of cleaned up and made sure that the penguins all had a similar look to them.
mm,
So
Okay. Right.
that's where that came from. And yeah, it did. You lost a little bit of the character in the sense that I loved the fact that in the original few years of Club Penguin, kids would send art believing like I can draw as well as you guys, right? There was some
yeah.
of that was a bit
Right.
on purpose, and that we wanted the penguins and especially the puffles to be something that were very approachable and like I can draw something that feels like it belongs in this world. But the changeover, at least that first one in '07, '08, it was needed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um.
mean, it makes sense. You want to brand around one look that
Yeah.
everybody knows and everybody can
Yeah.
recognize. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Did you do
Which
any pins ever?
did I do any pins?
Yeah.
Actually, yes. The first 3 years of pins was all me.
Wow.
That was one
Nice.
thing that I
Yes.
like. Even when I was busy with a bunch of other things, is like I'm gonna hold
Yes.
on to this one for a while, just because it's sort of a way of making sure I know what's going on in the world. So
Right.
that was one that I kind of just guarded for myself for a
I
while.
love it. I love it.
So, and then to kind of close it out, because the first pin was the shamrock pin, the very last pin I created was the shamrock that had the gold circle, the gold medallion
Yes.
shamrock.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
that was the way
Oh,
to kind of bookend it.
I never even
Wow.
noticed that. That's a good way to pick it up.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't have known then, but now it makes sense. That's
Yeah,
pretty
for
cool.
sure. Yeah. It was just it was a little hidden thing just to kind of say, okay, passing on the torch, but this was the Hendrix era of
Those
pin
pins were
creation.
amazing. Those were my
That
favorite pins to
that was
create.
all
Ah.
Lane's idea. That was Billy Bob. He and that was one of the many things that was inspired by Disneyland in Club Penguin, well
Okay.
before Disney actually purchased Club Penguin. There were a lot of things where he grew up in California. And so he was regularly at Disneyland. Like they had season passes, I think, some of the years. And
Right.
so the pin collection and trading thing just was a really, really big thing down there. And so when Club Penguin started and we were trying to think of ways to kind of make the world dynamic, he was really, really pushing just pins. This'll work, guys. This'll work. And we were like, maybe it'll work. I don't know. But we already had the slot for the country flags. So I was like, sure, okay, we'll give it a shot. And he was right.
No, it was great.
I think
Yeah.
my
Um.
first pin was like, let's see, I joined around February of '08. It was either a sombrero or it was, might have been a steering wheel that was made for the migrator, something like that.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
So yeah, you said first 3 years, so obviously I had to get some of those Screenhog era pins
You did.
before.
You
Yeah,
did.
awesome.
Did you do have to do anything with the lighthouse opening? 'Cause that was my favorite party ever.
Let's see.
Amazing. The music, the
So
art, anything.
I did not do the music. That one was a
Okay.
royalty-free track. Oh wait. I'm sorry. I
You
don't.
remember the lighthouse opening, don't you?
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember because we had a sea shanty. Was that the song of dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun,
yeah,
dun,
yeah,
dun.
yeah.
Okay, so that one was mine.
Oh,
Oh,
Um,
that was Ocean Voyage, I think,
that was
right?
Ocean
Yeah,
Voyage.
I love
Yeah,
that one.
yeah, that one was mine. Um,
wow.
but one thing, like, so people sometimes credit me with like, oh man, you all the backgrounds you did in the rooms in the game are awesome, and the response I have to get with that is, I did zero of the backgrounds in Club Penguin.
Wow.
I did not
Okay.
do any of the rooms. The closest I did was when we were going from bitmap to vector. I vectorized the dojo. That is the only background really I did in the game. I did some of the party art, but the backgrounds were all done by another guy at
Oh,
first, and then we hired some people in who could replicate his style. And I did not do a single room on Club Penguin.
Interesting.
well, as for
Yeah,
favorite music, I love the Halloween party music.
cool.
Haunted
Yeah,
Disco. Did you make that?
I did not make Haunted Disco,
Ah,
although that one is one of the ones I'm asked about the most as far as did I make that.
yeah.
So no, that one was not mine. That was so the guys that made I've Been Delayed and some of the other
Isn't
songs in
that
Penguin
Crisco's
Chat
kid?
3. Yeah, Taz 9000, I believe.
Yeah, that's his kid.
Yeah, so they made
Wow.
some of the songs in early Club Penguin as well, and I
Okay.
believe Haunted Disco was one of theirs.
All right.
Wow.
That's cool though. Good to know.
Yeah,
This one might
sure.
be hard to answer. What
All right.
was your well, yeah, what was your favorite song to compose?
So my favorite song to compose, and I have made a video on this one.
Okay.
It was in a members room. It was called Cave of Creeps and Clarinets, but I think it was given a different name when it actually went online. But it was in this room that it was inspired by the Haunted Mansion ride in Disneyland.
I hear it right now. It does sound just like that.
Yeah,
Now that you
and
said
so
that.
they wanted something that was creepy, but at the same time as fun as Grim Grinning Ghosts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And so I made the first version of the song, and they said, "We love it, but it's not creepy enough." And I had so much fun making it. It's like, okay, fine, I'll make another one. So I made a second one that was, very emphasis on minor key, but very jazzy and stuff still, and focus on the clarinets and bassoons and those kinds of wind instruments. That one, I'm not a fan of Halloween personally, but it was just a blast to compose. I had so much fun making that one.
Oh, I imagine.
And the second place would probably be the brown puffle lab, when the brown puffles were added to the worlds and you kind of found them in their own little laboratory, just kind of making and inventing things. That one was probably number two.
That's like a horn uppity song.
So yeah, I like fun little beats like that.
I noticed on one of your videos you were showing some stuff from Mech Mice that was never used, and I noticed that that snail in there was basically identical to the Epic Snails one. Did they end up using that for Epic Snails?
Sort
Is that
of.
your concept?
No, it's I was the one that modeled that snail.
Okay.
And then a different artist came in and textured it. We just early on in Mech Mice, we thought that it would be kind of fun to hide snails in different places, and so
Oh.
we did a little bit. And also, I believe, um, not that it was purchased by many, but there was a Mech Mice book, and we hit a couple of snails in that as well. But yes, that was just a fun little thing that was make a snail in 3D, and yes, I believe that design was closely followed when I'm pretty sure it was remodeled, but
Right, right.
turned into what is in Epic Snails now.
That's awesome. Before we start on the new stuff, phrase shift and Lastrix.
Hmm.
Did you have fun doing those?
I
Have a good
did.
time?
Yeah, yeah. It was. It's fun to know that I was able to get some games on Steam while I was at Hyper Hippo. That was neat. Um, yeah,
Absolutely.
Elastrix was based on the first good game concept I ever had. So it was when I was like 12. I came up with this idea of I wanted to make something that was pinball like. And
Uh,
so I got some of my dad's help because he does some woodworking. And I made this physical board that was slightly sloped and had nails pounded into it. And then I had rules about on your turn, you could put elastics. You draw a card and you could put elastics down on this board, and then you drop a marble and try to get points.
no, okay.
And I still have that
Oh,
prototype in the garage. But
wow.
yeah, that was back then, and that kind of stuck in my brain of someday I want to try and make a pinball-y sort of thing, especially after playing games like Peggle where they did that kind of thing. Like, I want to give that a shot too. So
Right.
yeah, that was fun to make. And then
Um,
phrase shift, I am an avid word gamer. I love weird, quirky little word game puzzles much more than the people around me tend to want to play them. But phrase shift was my attempt to make something that could be appreciated by many, and um, those who have started it and understand how it works seem to have enjoyed it. So yeah. Alrighty.
All right. So just gotta say this is like a childhood dream come true, you know?
Oh,
Especially
thanks.
like, yeah, I mean, uh, especially when I talked to Rocket Snail, we interviewed him a couple times. It was like, wow,
Nice.
this is happening, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
now I'm talking to like two big, pretty much.
yeah.
I don't know.
It,
Would I consider
it
you the backbone of Club Penguin, really, since you did all the art, from the ground up?
yeah. I got to lay a lot of the foundation for things.
Right.
There were a lot of artists that came in and, in my opinion, blew a lot of what I did out of the water in terms of just quality and wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And it was increasing so much as far as like you get to something like the medieval party where we just go out for the very first one and rework the entire world to make it look medieval, like I could not have imagined this 2 years ago kind of thing.
Right.
It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of passion working there.
Yeah, I remember when the party first came out, it was like so cool, because
Yeah.
that was like I think that was like one of the first really designed parties that really Like you guys
it,
really added a lot more. I don't
it was
know.
one of the it was one of the first ones where we didn't just decorate the world,
Yeah,
we revamped the world.
exactly.
We turned it into something else. And I mean, in later years that tended to go overboard to the point that people kind of forgot what original Club Penguin looked like. But yeah, it was when it was a treat, it was just it was amazingly fun. So
Yeah,
yeah,
things got a little too crazy, and this was after your time. I know you left in
it was.
2010.
I left Disney Online Studios in 2010.
Yeah, so
You got
that's when a lot of things started to really change. I mean, everybody started leaving. You know,
that's why I left.
it was getting sad.
Mm.
You know, you were leaving, and then Billy Bob was leaving, and then Lance was leaving. It was like, come on, what's going on here? My childhood. What's going to
Yeah,
happen to the
yeah,
game? And
yeah.
obviously, things kind of turn for the worse.
I
Things,
mean,
yeah,
I mean,
like
I
Lance
don't know how
said,
much you can really say, but it,
they turned it into a product. That's
yeah.
what it was. I mean, like
more so. It's
you can't
and
blame them business wise. You can't blame them, but
Mm-mm.
no, and I don't even really blame Disney as much for that because there were people, as far as I understood it, people within the studio who also kind of wanted to steer it in that direction. Like that it was
Hmm.
this kind of thing of
right.
Yeah, that was
yeah,
kind of what Rocket Snail was telling us. Like, even with all those big changes being made, it was still the same Kelowna team.
yeah.
So I guess that, uh,
Not that everyone that worked on Club Penguin was born and raised in Kelowna. Obviously, we've got
Right.
people from
yeah.
elsewhere. But we when Disney first purchased Club Penguin, we would have every once in a while these random executives would show up, and we would I have no idea who any of them were, but there were probably like
Oh
over a
yeah.
space
Oh
of a year about 100 that kind of just came through, and they came up partially as like the Club Penguin Mojo tour is what they would call it, because like this is what our studio feels like, and all these executives were like, wow, how could it feel like this is so dynamic and amazing. And on yeah, that through no fault of most of the people working at Club Penguin, it did tend the atmosphere changed for reasons that yeah,
I
there's
get it.
things I can't
Yeah.
really
No,
get
you're
into
good.
there,
Absolutely.
but it's
Absolutely.
just there's yeah.
No, yeah, that's perfect.
But I mean, even throughout that, even in the darkest times of there, like there were still people who were working really hard to say, okay, but we're gonna put this fun thing in because it's fun. Like
right.
there was
I mean,
still that effort to
we've seen the change too, game
yeah
wise. Believe me,
yeah
it
yeah
was just yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I had stopped playing in like, oh, I don't know, 2012 around there, and I came back a couple years later, and I was like, what is this game? This
You-
ain't the Club Penguin I remember.
where do I go?
Yeah,
Yeah, where do
Yeah
I go? What is this? Why? How did they get that? What is that? Like,
it used to
what
be
happened?
simple times.
Yeah, it
yeah
just got so
yep
complicated.
yeah. And
um,
that happens with even TV shows too, right? Every
right,
season feels like you kind of need to outdo the other ones. So what became a fun treat and a high point then becomes what's expected of you, and that brings stress onto you. Of okay, now we have to do all of this to make a party work. When if they I don't know how much they would have been allowed to do this, but if they could just say, okay, this November, we're just going to tone it down. It's going to be a lighter month. It's just going to kind of we're gonna take a breather here and let people just socialize. So,
You guys
right.
had some pretty quiet months from what I remember.
and
Aside,
some of that was on purpose.
yeah.
It was we uh, musically, if I can use this as an example,
Mm-hmm.
if your song keeps getting louder and louder and louder, you get to a point where you just can't make it louder anymore. And anything you do now is not going to seem intense until you go back quieter again. And then when you bring it back louder, people notice it, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I
The
gotcha.
same kind of thing is going to happen on a TV series or a MMO or something like that, where you have to have those downtimes to give you your peaks and valleys of excitement.
From what I
Absolutely.
remember, Novembers were pretty quiet.
Hmm.
No, you guys never did anything for Thanksgiving, which is makes sense considering how Club Penguin is around the world. And
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
get it. I mean, there was plenty of parties though. I mean,
yeah.
man. I mean, to me, we didn't see too much in 2005 because it was late in the year.
No.
Um, but I can tell you one thing. I can add '08 in there. I will add '08. But
Yeah.
from 2006 to 2007, there was nothing better. There never will be. There never has been. That was the prime,
the golden years.
most
Yeah.
Hmm.
unbelievable. It was simple. The items were just like it was just good times. That's that. There's no other way to say it. Like it was just good times. Everything
Hmm.
was great. You know.
It's yeah, and to some extent, and we experienced this very early on with Penguin, but the feeling of nostalgia,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
You get that, but you only get one chance to make people feel nostalgic, right? After a certain point, it's like
Absolutely.
I there's no new tricks I can give that'll make you feel nostalgic,
Yep.
right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
I'm amazed that, just to kind of go on a tangent, there's all of these like the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, right? I'm amazed they've been able to string it out this long and make people feel hype and hype and hype and hype for
I
like 20
agree.
movies straight. I am so glad that, even though I'm kind of sorry to see it stop, I'm so glad that this one coming up this month is going to be the last one, because then you can say we we stopped our arc while we were ahead, and people will be looking back a generation going, that
Yes.
10 years right there was an awesome series of movies.
Hmm.
I can't believe they pulled it off. And same kind of thing applies for just Club Penguin, as far as just nostalgic of, okay, everyone's going to have their moment of what feels like classic CP to them. Some people, it's when they started in 2009 or 2010, that's what they're going to be nostalgic for,
Hmm.
Right.
right?
Right.
Some people, it's going to be even later than that. They're going to think of Club Penguin as, oh, all of my favorite things were all in one place, and I could dress up as Kermit or one of the Monsters Inc. guys or Elsa, or right, like that. There's
Right.
going to be people nostalgic for different reasons.
Yeah, I joined in '08,
Absolutely.
so that's where my most nostalgic feelings are.
Of course, yeah.
And it goes back to before I even got a membership. I think I played for like a month without a membership, and I was always
Hmm.
like when you got a membership for the first time, you were like on top of the world. And I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that feeling. It was like, wow.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
hear music or something. Sometimes I just go on YouTube randomly and I'll just listen to old Club Penguin music because I just feel like listening. And I always love those songs, and they always take me back. And
That's
you
yeah.
know,
Dude, I
That's
remember.
always one of my favorite things about
Third
making music.
grade.
yeah. I mean, I
Third grade
never
Club
get
Penguin.
tired of them. You know.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I used to get up early before school and go on during the library at school
Hmm.
and just
My
much as you
favorite
could.
times were staying up late at night when there was a new party coming or a new catalog coming because the game would like update at a certain time.
Right. Yeah. 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 I'm pretty sure Australian players kind of have a different amount of nostalgia for that, because they would know in the middle of their day, right,
Mhm.
when the update was going to happen. And so everyone kind of like, okay, here it comes, here it comes. They got kicked off and then they all log in. Okay, there it is. Right?
Yeah,
For
right.
them, the update was a midday event. So it's different around the world. But
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Huh. Um. All right. Well, besides Club Penguin, is there anything that you can speak of project-wise? I mean, I know you've had some stuff that you couldn't talk about for a while. Is there
Hmm.
anything
Hmm.
that you're in the works with personally, or helping with, or working for?
Well, there are some prototypes of games that I'm working on that we'll see if they see the light of day. One of them is it's the idea of it is there are it's a puzzle game within a puzzle game, in a sense.
Okay.
So you have, imagine a grid, and there is on the grid a source of light that's creating a beam of light. There are mirrors scattered around, and then there is a target. And you have to change the direction of the mirrors so that the light will make it to the target. And there's various other things on the grid as well, but that's basically it.
I love puzzle
Um,
games, though.
okay, so just kind of simple puzzles there, although some of them get a little bit more complex. Now, imagine a world that you can walk through, like a portal or the Witness or whatever, a first person world
Right.
where these puzzles are scattered all around the place, and solving a puzzle either unlocks another puzzle or unlocks some elements of the world that you couldn't get to before. That's one of the possible projects that I'm working on right now.
Okay. No, that sounds
So
great.
so yeah, I'm looking into how doable that will be. Another game concept that I have mixes my love of word games with my love of the Civilization series. So we'll see whether or not that mashup actually works.
That'd be
But
great.
I think it will. It works really well in my head and in the initial prototypes that I've
Oh
got
yeah.
going for it. But you need a lot of preparation ahead of time to make a word game like what I'm thinking. So
Are you still
yeah.
in Unity?
Yeah, I'm still in Unity.
Okay.
I've
Great.
moved
Great.
over to that. Truth be told, I don't think I remember how to code in Flash anymore.
Oh
I
man.
think it's been long enough that I don't know it anymore.
You never forget the stop code though. I know you know
Oh,
that.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Stop,
There we go.
play, go to and play this frame. Sure. Yeah.
All right. All right.
But yeah, yeah, that's but
No, that's a
to
great
actually
switch.
make a game in Flash, I wouldn't know how to do it anymore just because Unity handles so much. But
Oh yeah.
there's that. I'm going to be continuing to make videos. I'm planning out. So on my blog right now, I have this one long post in the music section called Orchestra of One, where I talk about my thoughts on music, how to compose, why music makes us feel certain things. And I want to turn that into a series of videos.
Oh okay.
So I'm
Great. Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. Going to work on that and figure out how whether or not they're going to be like long videos with a bunch of topics in them or small videos that kind of go one topic at a time. But I feel like that's something that would work well as a series in my head. So that's a
Yeah.
project on the go to. And because none of those are immediately paying the bills, I'm also doing lots of contract work for other studios and stuff. And I've done some art stuff. Sometimes people contract me for music composing. Trailers have been something that I've been doing a lot more of lately for different games from other game studios. So
Interesting.
yeah, yeah, I've been
Oh.
able to up my After Effects game. So now I'm decent at some of those After Effects tricks.
Yeah, guys, I definitely highly recommend you contact Chris if you're looking for music, artwork, or trailers. Like you said, I've worked with him a couple times. Everything's always come back great, great
Mm-hmm.
timing, and he's a great guy. So
Sure.
definitely shoot him a message on Twitter.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely, you should.
Twitter is underscore Screenhog.
There you go,
I
guys.
wasn't able to get Screenhog without the underscore back in 2009.
Underscore
So
Screenhog. We'll throw
yep,
that in the video for you too.
Yeah.
cool. Thanks.
You should do some more paintings. Even maybe record some, do some video tutorials on paintings. I mean, a lot of people love to see that stuff, man.
Yeah, yeah. I like painting. What I really like doing, and I haven't done many of these, but they're always fun, is you do a technique called charcoal eraser drawing.
Ooh,
So what you do is you take, I find bigger paper is better. I usually like to work small with this one. I like to work big. Take a
okay.
big piece of paper that has some kind of grit grain to it. You take a piece of soft charcoal and you rub the charcoal over the whole page so that it just has this uniform gray color. And
Oh,
then you take an eraser and use that as your drawing tool.
wow.
And then you take darker charcoal and use that as a darkening tool. So instead of starting with a white surface that you're drawing on, you're starting with a gray that you're either lightening or darkening for different effects. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds
So
like a
yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna probably make a video on that.
Oh, dude, for
Somebody
sure.
actually contracted me to make one of those as a Christmas present for a friend this last year. So that was fun too.
Wow. Oh yeah,
It was
that
two
seems
dogs.
two dogs, huh?
Yeah. So
Definitely.
that's we make a video about that maybe.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm telling you, people love to watch stuff like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, I mean, everything seems to be going pretty good for you then right now.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
In the music,
Yeah. It's
decent year.
It's there have been some downsides to being contract work on your own,
Yep.
but the things in general definitely are better, and even mental health wise, it's been an improvement for me.
Great.
So,
That's
yeah.
great to hear. Absolutely. Joe, you got any more questions for him, or?
Oh man. Yeah, there's one thing. Speaking of games, I know you posted this a little while ago.
Hmm.
Um, so after Hyper Hippo, you posted this picture of it was like a building,
Yeah.
and it was a game you said they let you keep, I believe.
Hmm.
Is
Hmm.
there been any progress on that whatsoever?
So, yes. Do you recall? Well, earlier in this conversation, I mentioned the laser mirrors thing.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. That world was originally where I was going to put that laser mirrors puzzle thing, and it's still where I would like to do it, but my original concept for that game would require a bunch of NPCs around and just a level of effort that I don't know if I can risk putting into it because I need to work on projects that I think I can get money from,
Right. No,
to be frank.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
game industry is kind of nuts right now, especially if you're making a title that you pay for at first rather than just make microtransactions from it. So
Yeah.
I've the scaled down version is what I was describing before of the kind of dungeon crawling, solve puzzles that way thing. But yeah, that's what that game has turned into, and I hope that I can make that one happen. Uh, yeah, I not too much to reveal there, but yes, it is
Right.
still definitely on my mind because I'm pretty happy with the idea of that one if I can actually make it work.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um, I got one more.
go for it.
What do you make in your animations? And is it Maya or Blender or like what type of?
Uh, Depends. I'm still using Flash, which is now called Adobe Animate. Still
Right. Right.
occasionally do stuff in that. For 3D stuff, yeah, I use Blender.
Okay.
Blender is an odd program to get to learn, especially if you've learned other 3D programs. And it's like, oh, I'll try Blender because it's free. It's a little backwards, but once you get its flow, it's fun and it plays nicely with Unity. So
Yeah, they seem
I make
clean.
stuff in there.
Okay.
And lately, for After Effects animations, some of that stuff I've been making directly in Unity and then doing screen grabs and turning that into video, just
Okay.
because Unity has some awesome particle effect tools and other things that I can use rather than having to deal with Blender or Maya. Like the classic uh, way of doing it would be just to make it in those programs, light it and render it out, and it's not rendering it real time. But if it's a simple enough thing, Unity can just render these things at real time. You press play and you see instant results. So
Right.
I've been doing some of my video work in Unity.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
hey, that works.
it does.
Um,
It's they've gotten some high quality rendering in the last few years. They really upped their game.
yeah, they have. Um, yeah, Unity. That's great. I can't wait to see whatever you decide to push out when you got some free time. 'Cause like I said, I know you're busy
Hmm. Hmm.
contracting for sure. So, um, that's about it for me. Joe, do you have any more questions or?
I mean, we'd like to do this again in the future when you actually have some really um,
Some stuff to talk about and stuff to promote, kind of
yeah,
thing.
when
Yeah, yeah,
because
absolutely.
obviously you got all these awesome projects going on for you, and we'd love to follow up with that. See how you're doing.
Sure.
Yeah,
That
we'd love
sounds
to do
great.
that. Um,
Absolutely. We'll have to set something up in a couple months and see
yeah, I
what
mean
you're
we'd
doing
love to
at
do
that
that.
time. Um,
Alrighty.
I got to sneak one question. I don't know if you can talk
Okay.
about it. You met Lance for coffee, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't go to Tim Hortons for no reason. So, what did you talk about?
Well, part of it was just catching up as old friends because I
Hmm.
don't
That's
see him
great.
nearly as often as I did when. at Hippo, and just talking about our various projects we got going on, our passions of things. As you know, he's got a board game company and things
Yeah.
there, and he invited me if I had board game ideas to come pitch it to him. So I'm mulling that one over.
Awesome.
But yeah, talked some about that. Talked some about box critters, even though
Ooh.
I'm not officially
Ooh.
involved with anything with box critters, so I can't give you any sneak peeks or anything there.
Right.
But that's still very much him getting back to basics and making stuff work. But
Oh yeah.
which is
Oh,
good
that's good
because he
though.
loves doing that.
We had to
But
ask
yeah,
that for our Box
yeah,
Critters fans.
that
Yeah.
that is fine. I'm interested to see what he does with that because we've talked earlier in this conversation about how it was nice when virtual worlds were simpler things, and he's
Yeah.
making a virtual world that would be on the simpler side, but with his level of know-how into what makes them tick. So I'm,
Yep.
I'm curious to see what would come of that, because I think pull it off right and get it working in HTML5 so that the average browser can actually see it. Um,
Yeah.
I
Round two.
think,
Club Penguin round two.
yeah, I think you'd
Never
not
know.
necessarily the heights of Club Penguin. I don't think you could like duplicate
No, no,
the
No.
market share of it anymore.
never.
It's too crowded, but I think you can still get
Yeah, you get a decent following.
decent following, and there are a lot of things that have become a lot easier since the first time he tried to pull that off. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
no doubt.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we appreciate it. Guys,
Sure.
screenhog.com. Twitter is _screenhog. Definitely hit him up if you need some stuff made. And Chris, like I said, I appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you, man. This is awesome.
thank you.
Definitely have to set something up. So, other than that, you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be in touch.
Alrighty, you too.
Appreciate it. See ya.
All right,
Okay,
guys.
see ya.
Well, guys, thank you
Bye.
so much for watching. um, go follow him on Twitter. Go to his website. All that'll be in the description and also on the screen here. Also, be sure to check us out on my new Box Critters channel. He created the logo for us, so go ahead and make sure you subscribe to that. Once again,
Glad I
thank
did.
thank you so much for that. That was awesome.
Oh yeah, great.
You're welcome.
Um,
And if you are following me on Twitter, just be aware I Rick-rolled my entire Twitter followers.
Yes, he did.
So
I gotta say, see, I love you for that because I
That was
love rickrolling people, and that was awesome.
That
it,
was.
it was a little bit elaborate, but it was fun.
He was planning that for a long time.
Yeah.
As soon as I read Never and then Gonna, I was like, oh
I
my
knew
god,
it.
he did it.
Yeah. I was simultaneously loved and hated by my entire Twitter base, and I don't feel sorry.
It's
That
okay.
was awesome.
I don't hate you for it. I love you even more now because that was great.
That was awesome. That was a good one. All right.
Anyway,
Yeah,
All right, Chris.
yeah.
Alrighty.
Catch you
Thank
on
you
the
so
other
much,
side.
man.
You're
See
welcome.
ya.
Have a
Thanks.
good
All right,
day.
see ya. Yep. Bye.